Hi, I'm Midge Shoemaker, and today is day 14 of my doing 100 days of YouTube videos and focusing on spontaneity. So, 100 days of spontaneity. Fun for me. Okay. So, today, I think the lesson is that I need to not think that I already know what I did that was spontaneous, because more spontaneous things keep happening, or I keep doing things that I would not otherwise do, which I guess is the definition of spontaneous, is doing something you wouldn't normally do. So I thought today I was remembering the grasshopper thing from yesterday that still freaked me out, but for some reason it reminded me of when I was a kid, and I was up visiting my cousins, and my one cousin, we were at a creek, or a creek, however you want to say that. And anyway, I've heard it both ways growing up. We always kind of debated on how to say creek. Anyway, so as long as like up a creek without a paddle. Anyway, or a creek, both ways. My brain, sorry. So anyway, she was in the water. We'll just go with that. And she got leeches on her arms and her legs. Like, she was covered in leeches. It was hilarious. I wasn't over by the water. I don't know what happened. She just came running and screaming out. It was hilarious. And then my aunt got a VHS thing and recorded her talking about how much she was freaked out by the leeches. So I haven't seen or talked to my cousin probably since my grandma's funeral, which was several years ago. So I just randomly messaged her on Facebook today and was like, hey, guess what? I had this weird experience with the grasshopper yesterday, and it reminded me of the leeches. And she just did like the LOL thing, and we chatted back and forth for a minute. Not long, not a lot, just a little bit. But it was kind of, I'm like, okay, that was just spontaneous and weird. I don't normally think about my cousin or stuff that I did with my cousin as a kid, and I don't talk to my cousin on a regular basis. Not that I don't love my cousin or like her. We just live in different states, have different lives, do different things. And we grew up in different states, so we only saw each other like once a year when we would do like family vacations or something. So it's kind of like, I mean, fun. She's like the only cousin that's my age, but just not something I do on a daily basis. So kind of a spontaneous thing. I'm like, cool, I got my spontaneous thing done, and I'm awesome, and I'm going to work, and everything is great today. And then I went to work, and I was driving down the road, and I saw some guy stick out his thumb like he was hitchhiking, and I'm like, oh my gosh, people still hitchhike. Like, I didn't think anybody hitchhiked anymore. That's so random, so weird. But I kind of wanted to stop, which was really weird for me. I was like, I don't stop for hitchhikers, but I was like thinking about like maybe I should. But I was on my way to do a pickup for work, so I just did my pickup delivery, whatever. I was like, okay, but I couldn't get the hitchhiker dude out of my mind because I saw him when I was going back past him like twice. And I was like, poor guy. So then I was like, okay, I can't get him out of my mind. So I logged out of work. I was like, all right, I'm going to go see if the dude is still there, and I'm going to pick him up. I'm crazy. I was like, so I'm all praying. I'm like, what the heck? And the thing is, I wasn't like really scared of the guy. I wasn't afraid that he was going to do something. I kind of thought he looked like a kid like the first time I saw him, but when I found him, he was like an actual, grown man. And so like kind of driving by him, he looked so defeated when I like found him. He was a little bit further down, but he wasn't holding his thumb out anymore. He wasn't watching traffic. He was just kind of like, oh, so like looking down at the ground and so defeated, so whatever. And I kind of slowed down. I was like, is that the same guy? And I wasn't sure if it was the same guy. And he wasn't holding his thumb out anymore. So I was like, I don't know if that's the same guy. And I was just going to leave him. And I kept this feeling I shouldn't do that. So I was like, okay, God, if I'm supposed to talk to him, let me talk to him. Let me just, roll down the window and say, hey, what's going on? Can I help with something? Whatever. So I pulled into like this, I don't know, driveway office building. It could have been like a service station or a store, whatever. Those ones that has like multiple entrances. So I pulled in one and pulled out the other. Guy across the street, I turned around and kind of pulled up next to him. I was like, do you need a ride? Like, I opened on the window. I'm like, do you need a ride? Like, it just popped out of my mouth. Like, I was going to ask him if he was okay or if he needed something. And he's like, oh, that would be great. And he just got in my car. And I was like, okay, I got to move all the stuff off my seat so he can sit there. And so while moving stuff, he's just getting in my car. I'm like, okay. And then he's just like, oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I'm like, okay. He's like, I just live down here. And it was quite a ways down where I went to drop him off at. I'm like, yeah. And then I was like, I don't have any, like I have water bottles, but I reuse them. And so I'm like, they just all have my germs on them. So I'm like, I don't want to share them with some random stranger, or I don't think they would want to have my water bottles. So, but I'd bought some juice at the gas station, and I was like, I don't have any water, but I got some juice if you want some juice. And I'm like, I don't even know why I offered him that. Sometimes I think the Heavenly Father just has words pop out of my mouth and I do things without even thinking about it. And then I'm like, wait, what did I just do? I wanted my juice. But I was like, okay, it's probably better off that he got the juice instead of me. But I was like, I still wanted my juice. Just, there you go, have my juice. And he like downed that sucker probably before we got to wherever I was taking him. And we got to the trailer park he was going. He was like, I can get out and walk. And I'm like, are you sure? Because I can drive you. I was like, oh, if you could drive me, that would be great. So apparently he took the bus from somewhere, and the bus stopped way from before where he was at, and he accidentally left his phone on the bus, or at least that's the sob story he told me. So he couldn't call anybody to get a ride or order an Uber or a Lyft or anything like that. So he was stuck walking this really far distance because there were no more buses. And so it made me feel good that I actually like listened to that little prompting, that little thought in my head, and I'm like, I should go see what's going on. And I mean, I wasn't really scared. I was nervous, but I was nervous more because I'm shy. So if anybody's that's shy, you totally understand. Like, I just have a really hard time walking up to people and being like, hey, how are you? What's going on? Like, my park friend always says that when she introduces me to people. She's like, oh yeah, I knew Midge, and she used to be so quiet and shy. And the first time we met, she like squeaked like little mouse, like, hi, how are you? What's your name? And I'm like, that's because I'm shy. I do that with everybody. I still do that, by the way. This is not something that I have outgrown, in spite of the fact that my park friends seem to think that I have. And I'm like, no, you don't think I'm shy anymore because you know me. And when I know people, I'm much more comfortable. I'm much more talkative. I'm much more all kinds of things. And she ended up being my roommate for a while. And we've lived together, been friends for years. It's been awesome. But it literally started out as a conversation at church. And I kind of sat down on the same bench as her at church. And I kind of leaned over like, hi, how are you? Not even sure I should say something, but trying to like, stretch myself. And I made a new friend that way. So that was kind of the same feeling I had about picking up this hitchhiker dude. It wasn't that I was worried. I mean, if I thought about it, I was like, oh, he could do something to me. But that wasn't my first thought. That wasn't my impression. I wasn't really worried about that. I just felt bad for the dude. And I'm like, hey, it's a hitchhiker. I'm like, hey, I should totally give him a ride. That is totally a random thought for me. That is something I totally don't normally do. So but it made me feel good to give the guy a ride. And he obviously needed one because I was like I said, I was going to ask him if he was okay or if he needed something. And I rolled down the window. I'm like, you need a ride. The words just pop out of my mouth. And I'm like, really? It's not what I was going to ask. But I think God knows better than I do, so I'm grateful that he prompted me to go pick that dude up and give him a ride. And I didn't even get his name. I don't think we even exchanged names in the entire conversation. I think he just got in, drank the juice. He was relieved to have some cold air. He was kind of dealing with a little bit of heat stroke, blurry vision, all that stuff. And I was like, yeah, you looked like you were just about to crash. So he was just super grateful for a ride, even if it was for, a short distance. And it was really long for him to walk. And he walked pretty far from the time that I first saw him to when I went back and got him. I'm like, felt kind of bad because I kind of thought about picking him up when I first saw him. And then I was like, not going to do that. I'm going to do my work stuff first. So yeah, kind of feel bad about that. But anyway, it all worked out one way or the other. So lots of spontaneous things for my day. Not exactly what I thought I was going to be doing, but kind of recognizing that I'm a little bit more confident, feeling comfortable, being open to meeting strangers. Still have that little shy nervousness, whatever, but a little bit more trusting and doing something clearly spontaneous, because obviously there's no way I could have planned a hitchhiker, and there's no way that I would normally pick up a hitchhiker. I've watched too many shows like NCIS and CSI and Criminal Minds, things like that. I'm like, yeah, I heard too many horror stories. I'm like, no, you don't pick people up on the side of the road. I did. It was awesome. So that was my day 14 for being spontaneous. So yay, 2 weeks of spontaneity. Let's see if we can do this for another 86 days. Whoa, that's going to be fun. I will be learning lots more about myself and the crazy spontaneous things that apparently I am willing to do. I wasn't even doing it because I was thinking I need something spontaneous to do, because I thought I already did my spontaneous thing by messaging my cousin. So I was like, oops. That's what I get for thinking I know what the answers are, thinking that I know that I already did something that I needed to do for the day. So things just don't work that way. Anyway, that's what I have for day 14. If you like my videos, you can hit like, subscribe, share with someone else if you think they'll like them too. And I hope you have a great day full of gratitude and find something fun and spontaneous to do.